This is the September 15th meeting of the Revere City Council. That's September 15, 2014. All rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of the members. Councilor Rigo?
Here.
Here. Councilor Janino?
Here.
Here. Councilor Guanasso? Here. Councilor Haas? Here. Councilor Morabito?
Here.
Here. Councilor Novoselsky is absent. And Councilor Patch?
Here.
Here. Councilor Penta? Here. Councilor Powers?
Here.
Here. Councilor Reardon?
Here.
Here. And Council President Zambudo?
Here.
Here. Quorum is present. Approval of the journal of the meeting held on September 8th, 2014.
All in favor, all opposed? So voted.
Joint utility company meeting of Verizon and Comcast National Grid to discuss double poles.
Gentlemen, welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. President. Stan Yusevich, Verizon, with offices at 63 High Street in Damas.
Hi, Tim Kelly, Comcast Government Affairs, having an office at 426 First East Street, Boston, Massachusetts, 02127.
Dan Cameron with National Grid, offices in Malden at 170 Medford Street.
Okay, gentlemen, who wants to go first?
Well, I'll just give you an update on where we are with poles. There are 189 in the city.
Bless you.
And that reflects the poles that had to be placed in as a result of the tornado. Even with that work, since the 1st of August, we've taken out 21 double poles. So there's been a lot of work to first get them out, but also to take care of the damaged poles. We'll be working also with the Housing Authority. There's a few poles that we need to address down. I think was it Rose? Yeah. So that's pretty much where we are right now.
Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do recall we spoke probably about a month ago about a pole on Eastern Avenue that was in somebody's backyard. Nothing running to it, just a pole.
Just a pole. It wasn't a double pole. Right?
No, absolutely not. And we talked, and you said you were going to send somebody down there and look at it and see if we can get it out of there.
Yeah, I have not gone back to the engineer to find out what his findings were.
Could you do that for me, please? The woman that lives down there, she just recently, her husband passed. He's a former city councilor.
And it's a backyard pole similar to the one that...
I believe it was a paper street, and then they wound up with the property.
Okay.
And it's either 81 or 83 Eastern Avenue, and the name is Smith.
Okay.
Kathy Smith. And
I'll check with them.
I'd like to get that out of there because it serves no useful purposes, and it's a Verizon pole.
And there's no one on it.
No. And then I don't know who is on or off of these poles here, but down on Elm Street at the corner of Library, there's a couple of double poles that have been there for a considerable length of time. I think I brought this up before and several times, and I'd like to see if we can get these, removed, the double poles.
A few of them are in... Actually, there's two that are in remediation. I'll check on those tomorrow.
Right at the corner of Elm and Library. I believe they're on Library at the corner of Elm.
Right, there are two listed on Library that appears as though we can get.
Those are probably the ones, more than likely.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Powers, Councilor Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Gentlemen, a couple of things. First of all, I think it would be helpful if, did you give us just tell us Stan, a net number of poles we now have existence? Did you give us a figure for that?
It's 189.
189 double poles that we presently think we have in the city, by your estimate.
That's by the survey.
Okay.
In PLM,
All
that's
right.
correct.
And we've removed 21.
That's correct.
All right, so what would be helpful is if you could tell us what the new net number of polls is, so we would be able to figure out how many.
189.
Pardon me?
189 is the net new number.
That's the new number.
That's
Well,
correct.
what about double polls that are going in?
Those have been included since the tornado. They're actually, this database.
How many were a result of the tornado?
About 25.
25? So we added 25 and we removed 21. Is that pretty much what you're saying at this point?
Pretty much.
Well, granted that was an emergency situation and obviously, an anomaly. But I think it would be helpful if when you came to us, you could tell us what the net number is, the differential, in other words, between new polls going in, new double polls that are now existing, and ones that have been taken out. Because, obviously our goal is to have 0 double polls. So if we're adding them, if we're adding 30 and taking out 20, we're really not making much of a dent.
It's a laudable goal.
I'm sorry?
I say it's a laudable goal.
Yes.
But the number that I start off with is always the number that is existent, as this report is run.
All right, so as of this report, you say there's 189 rather. So next month, you're going to come to us with a number of polls that would presumably be less than that, but might not be if you put more polls in, is what I'm saying.
Well, that would be obvious, yes.
Yeah, all right, okay, so, all right. The other question I have is last time we met, I appraised you of a poll that has been long-standing that I wasn't even aware of, quite frankly, outside of Walgreens that's been cemented in. It's VZ 900. And I'm wondering if we've had any inquiry as to how that's going to come out of there. It's actually in the cement at this point.
I've had pictures of it.
Yeah.
And that's gone over to engineering to try to figure out how they get that out, and maybe they break out the sidewalk and then repair the sidewalk.
Right.
Because it's concrete, so they'd have to replace the entire square.
Yeah, that's obvious.
Yeah.
What about, when can we expect engineering to get back to you, I guess is the question then.
Well, I'll ask and give you a report next time.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Or if I get an update, I'll send an email to you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Because I did get calls on it, and that's...
Okay.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Reardon. Councilor Patch.
Thank you, Mr. President. National Grid. Hey, Dan, how you doing? Actually, this ain't double pole. I got 3842 Finley Street, pole number 4635, street light out. 38, what? It's Finley? between 3842 Finley, 4635. It's been out for a little while. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Patch. Councilor Janino.
Thank you. I have a couple quick things. So one, 2 streetlights that are out on Library Street. The pole numbers are 922 and 508. And one of the residents who lives right there let me know that if you have people drive by, the light flickers. So we may drive by and it may be on, but it doesn't stay on for a long period of time. So they both need to be replaced. And also, my second issue is with the double pole in the corner of Roosevelt Street and Revere Street in front of the Paul Revere School. This is now the second school year that it's still been up. So is there any idea who's working on that currently?
That's a private fiber that's somehow connected with the school department. The school department has to move that so the balance of the utilities can remove theirs. They've been notified, so I don't know if there's a private contractor that they have to hire, or or someone within the department that maintains that or makes the transfers. So that's been the delay.
Perfect. Well, I'll make sure we get that addressed as soon as possible because that's unacceptable. It's been well over a year. So thank you so much for looking into that for me. And just those 2 streetlights were all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Janino. Councilor Penta.
Thanks, Mr. President. Mr. President, actually, Councilor Reardon asked a question I wanted to ask, but I'd like to just go a little further. When you give us the updated reports every month, can you just put on the top of the bottom of the page 7 new added and what's subtracted, so we don't have to just count them? I mean, it'd be very easy for you to put down what's new and what you're taking down.
I will take whatever I can extract from PLM so that it's consistent. In addition, we have always used the double poll summary status as the benchmark for all of us in terms of trying to determine what work needs to be done. You know, if there is a program within PLM that will allow me to extract that, I will do that.
Well, basically, I mean, you know yourself. You just told us 189 polls and there's 28 or 21 removed or whatever. So you basically know that number. So just if you can just highlight it on the page saying 30 new ones and 20 removed, I mean, it'll make it a lot easier for us. At least
If I can generate that, if I can generate that from the existing data, I will do that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Penta. Councilor Morabito.
Thank you, Mr. President. My question is more on whether you guys continue to survey the polls after the tornado, because I've noticed a couple polls tilted on the Parkway. I was just wondering if you continued surveying the area after the tornado.
I can tell you that we just concluded a survey relative to the number of double polls and the condition of polls in most of the area in Revere. Because they're leaning does not make them unsafe. But if there are polls that are serviced by any of the utilities that are deemed to be unsafe, then they're marked and then forwarded to be replaced.
And how long does that process usually take when they're marked for replacement?
If they're marked as a dangerous pole, it usually takes a short period of time.
What's considered a short period of time?
Within a week. It depends. You know, sometimes the poles may have to be temporarily supported. Other times they'll have to be extracted immediately. So it's really a case-by-case basis.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Morabito. Councilor Guanasso.
My question, Mr. President, is to Dan from National Grid. On Stanton Ave, we have put up 4 new poles by Verizon, and the people are anxiously waiting for lights to be placed upon these poles.
For lights to be placed?
Lights. There's no light fixtures on these poles.
Okay. They were there and...
They're newly installed poles.
Newly installed, I mean, were
There's
poles there?
poles that are just put in place, and now they need lights.
Okay.
On Stanton Ave.
But were there poles there before? Are these replacement poles or they're brand new?
These are brand new.
Okay. We probably haven't got a formal request because that's going to add to the billing. So we would need a
formal request?
Formal request,
from
yeah.
who?
From, it's either from the mayor's office or Mike Conley's office, either one. And just give us the poll numbers.
Can I ask the clerk?
Just like any new street light.
Could you notify the mayor's office tomorrow to enlighten them to the conditions that are on Stanton Ave that we need 4 new lights placed upon these poles? Thank you.
Were there new homes built there? Is that why we have new poles?
I offer out to Councilor Morabito. Councilor Morabito.
Mr. President, for you to speak. 2 of the poles were existing already before the tornado. And what happened was there was a car accident, and one of the poles was knocked, like tilting, and they replaced the pole that originally had a light with a pole without a light. So that's one of them. And I believe out of the 4 poles, there were 2 with lights. Okay. And I believe one, there was just recently an accident after the tornado.
And
so altogether, 2 lights.
Okay, so two lights need to be replaced that were there before, and 2 added.
Are the 4 lit? Are the other 2 lit?
No.
So that means there's 4 lights out.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I just wanted to make it clear that there were 2 poles standing with lights
And
beforehand.
Two poles have fixtures, the lights are not working. 2 new poles need fixtures and lights.
Okay.
Thank you.
And do we have poll numbers or?
I believe Councilor Guinasso disclosed them at the last public meeting.
I gave those actually a while back, and I gave that to you.
It wasn't the last meeting. It was
No,
the
a
last
while
meeting
back.
you guys were at.
It was a
Okay,
while back.
we can retrieve these numbers and we'll get them to you.
Okay.
And also, across from the old Maggio's restaurant, and I brought this up the last 3 or 4 times we met, that there's a pole there that's halfway up the pole. There's another pole that wasn't placed before a car hit it, and now we're trying to make the aesthetic value of Revere Street nicer, and this looks awful. It's Revere Street. Not too far up from the Revere School where we still have that same pole waiting to be fixed. I gave you a pole number on this location previously.
Okay, we'll check that out. There's a number of polls still on.
Thanks, Dan. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Guinasso. Councilor Powers, you have a question for Mr. Cameron?
I do, Mr. President. Dan, was it David Santana?
Yes,
He replaced you when you were on vacation?
that's correct.
Okay. I spoke to him several times, as did a constituent of mine, regarding a trench.
Yeah, we're aware of that.
540 Revere Street. He called me again this morning. He's very irate. He's not happy. And I believe he has reason to be not happy. They're doing construction on Ocean Avenue, which consequently there's a lot of trucks going up Revere Street or down, whatever the case may be. This is affecting his masonry work on the front of his house. Now, my feeling is, and I'm sure the council president would agree with me, being in the construction business, that anytime a trench is opened in this city, no matter if it's the city of Revere or National Grid or whoever it may be, that trench should be replaced with suitable fill, compacted properly, and then sealed. And that way there, we would eliminate all of these problems. Now, can you tell me tonight with any degree of certainty when that trench will be repaired? Because he's going to call me again tomorrow morning, and I want to be able to say to him, it's going to be done.
It'll be done. Actually, David may be aware of that on last week, because he had been kind of handling that.
Any idea when I can tell this gentleman that'll be done?
We spoke to the supervisor on Friday. It'll be done this week.
It'll be done this week. Yeah. Okay. Because, and these trenches, you use private contractors, don't you? Okay.
Depends. Depends on.
I think National Grid should hold the contractor responsible when we have these situations. But I'm going to call him in the morning, and I'm going to tell him it'll be done this week. And I really hope it will, because I think we're pretty lenient up here with regard to trenches and utility companies. And
it'll be done this week.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Powers. I'm going to cut you a little bit of slack because of the hurricane, the tornado, and the other weather situations that we had. And so I know you've been going out full and did a great job with the crisis. And I'm still waiting for my one double pole request that I've had for a long time at the corner of, at the end of Haas and the corner of Atwood. It's been there. I gave you a picture of the number of the phone. We talked about that it would have been done a month or 2 months ago. It just seems to be forgotten. And I have to look at it almost every day. Is it anywhere in the map? know who's on it? Or?
Yeah, Verizon, we'll take care of that.
Fantastic. That's all. Thank you, guys. Great job. See you next time.
Calendar item number 2, hearing called is ordered on the application of Anthony Pintone and John Pintone, DBA Master Auto Inc., 1027 Broadway, Revere, Mass., seeking permission from the Revere City Council to modify a non-conforming commercial structure by enlarging the structure footprint by 193 square feet and by raising the building height to allow for additional work and storage space on lots A, B, and C at 1027 Broadway, Revere, Mass.
Attorney Simeoni.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the City Council. My name is Attorney Lawrence Simeoni, 300 Broadway, Revere, Massachusetts. And this evening I have the privilege of representing Anthony Pintone and John Pintone, DBA Masters Auto. They are the managers of 1027 Broadway, LLC, a Massachusetts limited liability corporation with a principal place of business at 1027 Broadway. If I could, Madam Clerk, I just want to hand you two plans for distribution to the council. Thank you. The applicant seeks to allow a small and minor alteration to its building which exists on a non-conforming lot. The specific application is to modify a non-conforming structure in accordance with 1740-020. The lot itself is 3 lots. It consists of A, B, and C. It's 8,625,000 square feet in the general business district. The general business district has a minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet. Therefore, the lot does not conform. It's the fact that the lot doesn't conform under Massachusetts case law, recent case law, in fact, that triggers the need for this special permit. The existing structure is about 1.5 stories. It complies with all the dimensional requirements of the general business district. It also complies with the parking requirement. The particular use at that location is commercial garage in accordance with 1708-320. It is prohibited in the general business district, therefore it's a non-conforming use, along with a used car license, Class 2, as an accessory use. The building is built in 1960. It's approximately 1,545 square feet. The proposal is very straightforward. These individuals who have been businessmen and owners of this establishment since 1960 suffered what can only be one of the serious damages to a small structure as a result of the tornado. Anybody who has gone to their business has to look in horror as they continue to work under these incredibly difficult conditions. Their roof is practically completely blown off. Their proposed renovation is to take advantage of the situation by taking their bay area and kicking it out 5.5 feet, approximately 2 bays there, and it'll be like 35 feet. So the actual increase in structure is 193 square feet. They also intend, in accordance with the plans you see there, is to increase the roof line 5 feet. General business district, it's 5 stories, 50 feet. They're not even close. But the reason is established in the application is that these two particular small alterations will allow them to work safer in the environment. Specifically, the height requirement, where when they bring their lifts up, the cars are just too close to the ceiling. They need more workspace. Obviously, it's a very limited lot, and it's a small building, so these small, what appears to be small renovations to somebody else mean a lot to my clients. With that said, and the improvements will help them establish at least their business environment, the reason why this is before you is because back in 2005, in a case called Bransford versus ZBA of Edgartown, for some reason the Massachusetts Supreme Court determined that when you look at the Zoning Act, that they won't change. When they look at something that says in the Act, it says special, if it says non-conforming structure, well, they're not going to untwine non-conforming structure and non-conforming lot. So now it makes things more complicated since that decision. So someone, as my clients have, a building that meets all the criteria of the GB district is now simply a non-conforming structure only because it sits on a non-conforming lot, which I would dare say that a significant amount of lots in the commercial area are non-conforming. That said, there is a case that allowed my client some discretion, the building inspector some discretion. It's the Borkland case, which I will talk further with subcommittee, where someone, if they choose to make a modification, and their modification is very small, that the Supreme Judicial Court in Massachusetts said, well, then a special permit isn't required. And I tried very hard to talk to the solicitor and the building inspector, but I was unsuccessful, and only because these gentlemen are really this whole thing is time sensitive. Anybody in the construction industry knows that you got to wait for the special permit hearing, you've got to wait for the 20-day appeal period. These people are not going to be able to pull a building permit for a while, and it's kind of unfortunate that I was unsuccessful to prove my case to the solicitor. That being said, I asked this honorable body to find that the proposal is not substantially more detrimental to the existing neighborhood, which anybody who knows this neighborhood is clearly commercial. Answer any questions. My clients are here to answer any questions. And thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Attorney Simeone. Any other proponents, people in favor of this proposal? Hearing and seeing none. Any opponents, people opposed? Hearing and seeing none. Councilors. Councilor Guanasso.
I have to use my colleague's mic again. Somebody disabled me this weekend. I am very familiar with the property. I go by it every day. I am familiar with the individuals who operate this particular location, and I look forward to this going to the subcommittee with a fast response in order to get these individuals back to work and get their people back to work and make sure that the due diligence is done. And certainly they're deserving of this particular proposal. So I ask for this to go to subcommittee and then we act on it very quickly. And I asked the chair of zoning if they would have a meeting next Monday night if we're in session. Are we in session next Monday night?
Yes, we are.
A question over to the zoning subcommittee chair. We hold a meeting next Monday night for the zoning subcommittee?
Mr. Chairman, is it possible to have a meeting next Monday night?
Anything's possible.
Okay. Well.
For my good friend, Councilor Guanasso, it's not only possible, it's extremely probable.
All right, good.
Thank you very much, Councilor. I appreciate that.
The answer is yes.
I will save my comments for the subcommittee. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm not on the zoning subcommittee, but I want to say right now I will be supporting these gentlemen. They're operating right now under a hardship down there because of the tornado. And more importantly, this is where that type of business belongs, where it is right now. They're doing some work on their building, they're repairing it, they're increasing the value of their building, and I'm sure the assessors will pick that up as additional commercial tax rate. So I want to say right now, I've looked at this, I certainly will be supporting this when it comes before the full council. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Powers. Councilor Haas.
I agree with John as far as his comments, okay? I also want to make the statement that the building is under repair at the current time. They're not doing anything. So it makes sense that they do all of the modifications at this point in time. So too bad they didn't convince the city solicitor that it was a minor change. But again, if that's what it is, I'll be for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Haas. Any other councilors? Zoning.
Calendar item number 3, report of the Appointments Subcommittee.
Chairman Guanasso.
Mr. President, the Appointments Subcommittee met for 15 seconds this afternoon, and the individual who was supposed to appear did not appear. So we adjourned the meeting with the intention that the city clerk offer out one more invitation to the individual for the next appointment subcommittee. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Calendar item number 4, motion presented by Councilor Penta, that the mayor request the Police Department Traffic Division to remove the illegally parked trucks on Railroad Street, which have been parked at the same location for several months. The Traffic Division has been asked several times before to have the trucks removed, but has not complied with the request.
Councilor Penta.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, if you go down there, people that don't know the area, the land is owned basically by the railroad, which has been non-existent to the tracks for I don't know how many years. But there's a guy, basically a squatter there, running a business out of land that is not his. I mean, and everybody here and everybody in the city would love to have a piece of land and run a business, for no rent or anything. But the problem is, it's not even he's running a business, it's an eyesore. He takes these old Army trucks, I don't know how he gets them in there, but 6 months ago we went down, I talked to the gentleman. He had 2 Rottweilers down there, tied up, so no one can get into the property, but he at least moved those, probably about a week or 2 ago. But he told me he'd move them. I told him, give him a couple of weeks, and this is 6 to 8 months ago, possibly. That being said, I actually contacted the police department, the traffic commission. They said they'd work on it, and the answer is basically the railroad owns it. They get hold of the railroad. My thing is just go down there, slap on 72 hours, remove them, or we'll remove them. The thing that really got me, and the reason I put this motion in, is because the police department said they were working with them and hopefully they'll be gone. But I took a ride by there last week. There's 2 to 3 times more trucks in there. I mean, it's incredible. There's tires, and they're all big trucks. These are huge trucks, flatbeds. Somebody called me, he had a crane in there the other day moving a motor from one to another truck. It's just ridiculous. It's frustrating that this is allowed to happen. And we're trying to clean up an area like that. There's people that actually just bought some properties, just renovating the whole buildings down there, and they're trying to do the right thing. But you got a gentleman, that's running an illegal business out of there with trucks that are just a total nightmare. And it's amazing when I go by there. One day you move 3 of them, there's 6 different ones in there. So, I mean, it's out of control, and I just ask that all they have to do is go down and slap 72 hours, move them. It's not his property. And, and get them out of there. But when I went by the other day and seen double the trucks, it was like, I can't believe this is even happening. So I ask this council to pass this motion. Hopefully we can get some action on this. Thank you.
Well, it seems to me like the building inspector can put a cease and desist order on him. I don't know if you're going to put it around his neck or...
I went to the inspection services, like I said. I went to the track. They said, let the police handle it. It's okay. Trucks. And unfortunately, I mean, there's a lot been going on in the city. Right. I mean, the police department, maybe it's not their priority, but I mean, the time is, it's about time that the action is taken.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted.
There's a late motion presented by Councilor Gino that the mayor request the school department to take appropriate action to facilitate the removal of the double pole at the corner of Revere Street and Roosevelt Street, so the pole can be removed. It is a hazard and makes visibility of the children crossing difficult while driving.
Councilor Janino?
Speaks for itself.
Okay. On the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. No further business. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We're adjourned until the 22nd of September at 6 p.m. and probably a zoning committee meeting at 5 p.m.